Hi, everyone. I'm Janae. I'm the DZTE Marketing Assistant. Welcome to the Daphne Zeppos Teaching Endowment virtual presentation for Dr. Carmen Licon, the CURD program, which was initially presented in Sacramento at the American Cheese Society Conference in 2025. The Daphne Zeppos Teaching Endowment started in 2012, funding the Daphne Zeppos Teaching Award as a scholarship to grow a squad of cheese professionals who teach about the history, culture, and techniques in making, aging, and selling cheese. Each year, two scholarship recipients go forth to learn about cheese. The scholarships fund expenses related to their research, including travel, living expenses, and more. The recipients will share their learning with industry peers at events like the annual American Cheese Society Conference and beyond. The scholarships are funded by the Daphne Zeppos Teaching Endowment, a 501c3 nonprofit. The Teaching Award applications will open in the spring for those interested in pursuing a topic. And I will pass it over to Carmen from here.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my vision for the program. So today I am presenting the CURD program, the Curriculum for Understanding and Reimagining Dairy. During this past year, when I started working on this presentation and working on this project, I started reading a lot about Daphne. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time. I didn't meet her in person. But through reading her passion and her dedication to education, it really shared or really influenced my presentation and my program. And she really shared her passion for cheese making. So thank you so much to Daphne for this legacy. And that's what we're really here to really honor her and her ideas and her passion. So thank you very much for that. So, who's Carmen and why am I here? I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and why I'm involved now in cheese. So, Carmen is this little girl that you see on the screen. I'm here with my mom at 4 years old. I was born and raised in Chihuahua, in Mexico, who is a dairy state. And I grew up around agriculture, around dairy, eating the best cheese and the best cream that you can imagine. So I like to say that milk runs into my veins since I am a little girl. And ever since I learned to love agriculture and to really acknowledge all the people who work in our farms and also who provide food for us. So I got the opportunity to study. I'm a food engineer, and ever since I became a cheese enthusiast, I'm also passionate for product and development and innovation. And I'm truly a dairy advocate. I truly believe that dairy is part of our culture in the West and that we should keep it alive. I'm an inveterate teacher, meaning that I really love teaching and I take any opportunity to give a lesson to whoever is open to receive my advice or my teaching. I'm a mom. I have a 10-year-old son, and I'm a wife of a wine professor, which I always say it really adds a lot into my list because we really have to uh, organize our lives around or both of our schedules. I've been blessed with the opportunity to study in multiple places and to travel around Europe and here in North America. So, as I said, I'm a graduate from Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico. I'm a food engineer. And I got the opportunity to do my master's and PhD in Spain. I work in Castilla-La Mancha University, where I learned to love cheese and to appreciate cheese variety and tradition. Then I got the opportunity to work in France and I worked with Emmental cheese and Comté cheese. And then to understand a little bit more about sensory evaluation and how our senses, and especially our olfaction, works and understands all the different cheese varieties. After that, I got the opportunity to start my academic career as a professor at Fresno State. And most recently, I moved to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to be the director of the Dairy Products Technology Center, where we support entrepreneurs, industry with short courses and with R&D needs. But I'm also part of a bigger ecosystem. I am a co-PI or principal investigator in Pacific Coast Coalition Dairy Business Innovation Initiative, which is a project funded through the USDA to support the dairy industry in California, Oregon, and Washington. So I'm truly blessed to be part of this big family of dairy in California, and this really fulfills my passion about supporting dairy. So why are we here today? Today we're here to envision what dairy could be, especially for cheesemakers. So I'm going to share my vision for a vocational school for cheesemaker, which will be a hands-on program that will merge science and art of cheesemaking. So we're going to learn today, what do I propose as a program? So, who will benefit from this program? This program will be for everyone. So, I here have a few profiles of potential professionals who might benefit. For example, we have a production manager who would like to learn more about cheese making because he might have moved careers from one industry to another. We might have an environmental scientist who would like to start her own or his own creamery. And then we might have chefs, someone graduating from culinary school, lab technicians who would like to get more into quality assurance, and also high school students who might not know what to do next. And maybe this program will actually provide opportunities for them to explore potential careers. So these are only examples of who will benefit from this program. And before we really start talking about the program itself, let's go back a little bit and talk about why do we need a vocational program. As part of my job, I attend a lot of meetings and conferences and I talk with industry all the time. And the number one challenge that we have for the food industry, and more particular for dairy and cheese, is talent. People, people, people. We always need qualified professionals and professionals who are willing to do the job. We see in general decline in number of students in food science and agricultural programs. And again, I'm talking very general speaking. We also know that the new generations graduating from university, they have a shift in career goals. They like or they prefer a job that will be from 8 to 5 and not necessarily what it takes to make cheese and starting at 5 a.m. or having a 12-hour shift. Also, we have to be very realistic about the cost of going into higher education versus the cost of their salaries when they graduate. Sometimes it doesn't match. And as a result, we've seen a decline on qualified individuals to enter the workforce. And this is more important for cheesemakers. It is actually very hard to find a cheesemaker who is ready to start or who has a background. Most people will just change careers and will need training before they start. So when I wrote my vision for the DCT application, I had in mind this idea of understanding what challenges and opportunities do we have as part of education here in the United States regarding cheesemaking. And to understand as well what is the educational landscape that will be crucial for industry to recruit new talent. So the question is, what will be the most effective way to train the next generation of cheesemakers? And that's what I tried to find out, and I'm still trying to find out. And that's why I did all the work that I did during this past year that I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail. My vision is that there is no one single way or one single path to get where we want to get or where we want to go. There might be multiple ways, multiple opportunities, and things might change, right? And we have to be open to these changes and be flexible. So, how I see this program is I see that we could do it in different ways. And that's what I was trying to understand. So, let's take a look at this overview of different programs and different pathways to get to our vocational school for cheesemakers. So, when I got my grant, I traveled first to Europe, to France, and I visited a school called Enilea. This school is the National School for Innovation in Laboratories, and they also have a water park. So you have a QR code here on your screen in case you're more interested in learning about this school. So this school is part of the national program in France. They have two different campuses, and they are completely devoted to dairy products for the most part. So they have different types of degrees and different educational programs, and they have a lot of students. And as I said, it's all about cheese making and dairy, which is quite impressive. They have a lot of experience providing educational opportunities. So this is a summary of what I learned from these two schools. First of all, they have different routes. They have a higher education one and they have a vocational route. So for the vocational, the students can start in 2 years. They will get a national vocational qualification. And again, this is um, approved or recognized nationally in France. And then after 2 more years, they can get what they call the first diploma. And after another 2 years, they will get the national diploma. And this will be equivalent of a high school degree. So basically, students after middle school, which will be equivalent to middle school but different ages in France, they can start going into vocational school and become cheesemakers. If they are willing to go into the higher education route, they can continue, or they can start from a higher national diploma, and they can actually get a Bachelor of Science degree and even later on get a master's degree with an extra year. These schools, they have different emphasis. They have dairy production, cheese making, quality control, and they have research and development as well. And they have multiple laboratories that go all the way from microbiology, chemistry, biochemistry, and then sensory analysis. Again, all these topics are covered in one extent or another, depending on the program that the students are interested in following. These are a few pictures that I took while I was visiting there. What is very interesting about these programs is that each one of them, they have the commercial facility as part of the program, so the students will be involved into making cheese and actually selling cheese. And their emphasis, depending on the campus, will be on the regional cheese that is more important. So in this case, for Mammy Roll, it was Morbier. And in the case of Poligny, as it's the capital of Comté cheese, they will be making Comté for the most part to sell, but they also have other cheese styles. They learn almost all cheese styles. And then they also had one class that was about cosmetics using partially dairy, which was very, very interesting. So, some highlights of this program. They are part of the National Education Program in France. Its funding structure is very strong, again, because it's part of the national education, so they get funding from the regional government and national government. They have a great infrastructure and they have a lot of tradition. Now, on the downside, they have few educational options in English, so if someone wants to go there and learn, they have to learn French. And they do have some online classes that are in English, but it's not practical. So, after visiting the school, I must say that all these findings are not comprehensive. And of course, there are other programs that are out there and other ways of doing it. But again, this is only a snapshot of what I was able to do during my visit. And also, just to acknowledge that it's not my intent to become an ENEAL program or something like that, but this is aspirational, right? If we get to the point of being 10, 15% of where they are after years and years of tradition, I think we're going to be in a very, very good place to start a vocational program here in the United States. So after visiting France, I traveled to Italy to a culinary school. So I visited the Italian Culinary Institute in Italy, in the south of Italy, which was gorgeous program. Is This culinary institute is by the sea. It's just amazing. You can see the views that we had here while we were making mozzarella. And this is the emphasis of this school is very different. So the emphasis of the school is more for amateurs, so people who are interested in learning more about cheese making, but not necessarily to become a cheesemaker. This is a 1 week program. It covers absolutely all expenses, accommodation, meals, course materials, and all the materials that you need to like extra ingredients that you might need, and it also covers some visits to market and a creamery. So it's very good. It's very good to learn and get uh, at least a first approach to cheese making. Here are some pictures of the cheeses we made and tasted. But as you can see, and I want to show you, is basically we made cheese using pots and pans, right? No different than how we will do it at home. And they also brought a master mozzarella maker. And this part of the class was extremely fun. And I must say that making mozzarella is very hard, even though sometimes we see in certain videos that they make it look easy. It is not easy at all. So this was very, very fun. Now, what was the highlight of this program? The location, it was just beautiful and charming. The price was relatively accessible, knowing that, of course, you have to travel to Italy, right? But for the week and for the accommodation and everything, it wasn't that expensive. The experience was great. The instructors and the organization put a lot of emphasis on the whole experience and not only about cheese making and then you are off. It was about learning the tradition. It was about learning more about the ingredients and the sourcing and about, just how important again dairy is for that region and for that particular for Italy. However, is not for long-term career plans. So yeah, someone can go and learn a few things about cheese making, but again, it's very small scale. Is not really, it will not translate into a cheese making career in the future because we didn't cover quality assurance, we didn't cover a lot of the topics that are needed. So after that, I came back to California. And I kept doing my research and investigating what other programs do we have available here in the United States. And I came out with the Vermont Institute of Artisan Cheese, VIAC. And this program is no longer, it doesn't exist for now, but it was very, very successful. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this program. And so, what I learned about this program, and after interviewing Dr. Paul, um, they receive a lot of university support. They had a lot of community support. They were able to bring international expertise, which is amazing. So from time to time, they will be changing the topics of the cheese classes that they had, and they had an emphasis on French and Spanish and Italian. So their experts were here. They had a lot of volunteering. So you have volunteers who were able to come and teach to their program. And what is I really want to highlight is how committed the organizers were. So passion, passion, passion. That's what it really made this program successful. And then the program started to gain a lot of momentum. So a lot of the cheesemakers, the best cheesemakers that we have in the States that we know right now, they went to that program and they learned there. Some other aspects is that this program was 2 week long, over 3 or 4 times a year, and they had between 15 to 20 students per class, right? So it wasn't longer, and I'm not sure if a lot of people came for multiple parts of the program and it was just one thing and then they went off and that was it. But it was very successful, as I said. Other programs that we have available is Cheese State University. And I'm highlighting this program because this is a 100% online program. It's not a hands-on program, but it's funded by dairy farmers in Wisconsin. So it receives a lot of support and it's been very helpful for to introduce cheese education, especially for cheesemongers, for retailers. And it has three different volumes or skill sets that students can take and learn. So the experience is very good. They have their own support and funding. They have their own kind of like a social media where people can ask questions, and it's only for their students. And they also have very good private partnerships. Now, for a vocational school, the let's say like the downside is that it's only online and there's no hands-on practical experience. So again, it's really a different objective, right, of what I envision for a vocational school for cheesemakers. So after doing all this research and hitting my heads around, like, okay, how can we make this happen? Right? I'm gonna show you one of the paths that I found might get us there, but again, there might be different ways, and I'm still working on it, and I'm trying to figure out, and I don't believe it's going to be a one time thing. This program will be evolving as we go and as we learn. So this is a proposed program for the vocational school. It will be a hands-on program where students will learn everything from milk, microbiology, quality, all the way to aging techniques and marketing strategy. And it will really blend tradition with innovation. We want to have future cheesemakers or career transitions and food professionals go into this program with the idea of them becoming cheesemakers, if that's what they would like to do for a future career. So I developed 24 modules divided in 4 units. The first unit will be milk and food safety foundations, where we're going to talk about milk production, milk quality and composition, microbiology, sanitation, and then everything about regulations. Now, for the regulation aspect of it, once someone becomes a cheesemaker, more work needs to happen because food safety is very, very important and it's a big chunk of the daily work for everyone who is processing or transforming food. So this is also important to know that this will not be the only food safety or regulations class that someone will need to take. Then we'll go into cheesemaking basics, where we'll talk about cheesemaking history, cheesemaking basic steps, chemical composition, pasteurization, new technology use for certain cheesemaking style like ultrafiltration, and then talking about cheese cultures and enzymes and quality assurance in the lab. And after these 2 modules, we're going to give this batch that is going to be called fresco, which means fresh in Spanish, because it's the first step to become a cheesemaker. After that, the second, or well, this will be the third module, will go into more detail about cheese styles, different cheese styles. So fresh cheese and pasta filata, age, surface mold, watch rind, press. I also have blue vein, innovation, and other cheese styles, specialty cheese, aging principles, and sensory evaluation. Of course, aging principles, evaluation, sensory evaluation will have to touch base in every single module. It's not like a standalone thing. But this module will cover in more detail. It's going to be more on the advanced cheesemaking part where the heavily hands-on experience will happen. So this definitely needs to happen in person because this is where the students will be practicing how to make all these different styles. And after completing this work, the students will get the classic batch. After that, I'm envisioning other topics related to running a creamery. For example, selling principles, marketing strategy, and business planning. After completing all this work and the 24 modules, then we will have the reserve badge. So while I was designing this program and thinking about it, I got the opportunity to interview a lot of professionals. And I'm going to present you with some testimonials that I have from, again, different profiles that might benefit or might be helpful in some sort. So let me introduce you to Ben Smith. He is a production manager at Hillmark. He graduated from the professional master's program at the center that I work at the DPTC, now at Cal Poly. And when I shared the program, he said, well, this program will be beneficial to cover the educational gap for cheesemakers that we have right now. Why? Because when they hire cheesemakers, they don't have a place to send them to learn. Now, Gary Germain, he's VP of Production Operations at Leprino Foods and big supporter of the DPTC. We always have these discussions about how can we train more people, how can we have more talent into cheese making. And he shared the same thing. Our employees will have the opportunity to get cheese making education to accelerate their careers. Why? Because they're operators, most of the time they start from like doing other jobs that is not necessarily cheese making, and they start learning and escalating the ladder while they get to being production managers or production supervisors. They don't necessarily are experts on cheese making. They've been doing other things, so they need again a place where they can go and learn and touch with their hands the curds and say like this is how we make cheese and I understand the principles. Even though at that big scale they're not gonna do it manually, they need to understand the whys. I also had a conversation with Robert. He wants to become a urban cheesemaker. And he mentioned how he doesn't have opportunity here in the United States to go and learn how to make cheese in a longer term. So he actually wanted to go to Europe and learn in these different schools to have programs that are longer, a little bit longer. Then Lily, she's a cheesemaker, an award-winning cheesemaker actually, and she's already there. She's in that bad. She's already a cheesemaker, but she wasn't a few years ago. So she switched careers during COVID, and that's why we had this conversation. How I asked her how a program like this will have been helpful for you. And she said this will have changed everything because she basically needed to go here and there in multiple and different programs that will be adding on into the cheese making career, but not like a single stop. And then I had a conversation recently with Jose Gonzalez. He's a transfer student to Cal Poly. He's a farm worker and he contacted me because he wants to become a cheesemaker because his family in Mexico used to make cheese and now he wants to carry that tradition. So even though he's not doing food science or he's not into that field, he's actually going to or continuing his education on plant science, he's committed to learn about making cheese because that's one of his career goals. So we speak Spanish, and he told me something related like there's not a single path in life to get where we want to go. And thanks to programs like this, I actually feel sense of belonging, which is very powerful, right? So for some of these students, even at a high school or a transfer program, and for first generation students, having a vocational program like this might really change their lives because they will know where to go and they will feel that they belong to higher education later on. And that is very important. So why California? Well, California is the number one milk producer in the United States. We are also number one producer of Monterey Jack and Hispanic styles and mozzarella, number two cheese producing in the United States. So we have a very good network of support for the dairy industry that will really enhance the program. We have an artisanal cheese making industry that is very strong and growing, and actually one of the best cheesemakers in the United States as well. So we'll having it here in California will benefit of having that network and that support. Why at Cal Poly? Cal Poly has more than 40 years of experience in education. In particular, the Dairy Products Technology Center started in 1986. We have a commercial creamery, a facility that's already there. We have a pilot plant, meaning that we can do small scale cheese making and we can do bigger scale cheese making. We have laboratories in place for chemistry, for microbiology that we can use. And we also have a conference room and a classroom. So we are already set up for success for this program. We have almost everything that we need, and we have the experience and the expertise. So after going to all these places, try try to summarize. We all have different structures and different ways of doing things, different programs that will really affect our culture as well. We or are different in France and Italy, United States, West, East will not be the same, but we always have the same problems. All of us have the same problems, and the problem is we need cheesemakers. So in this table, I'm presenting you a summary of, again, the programs that I identified. However, this is not comprehensive, and there are more programs out there that might be able to be helpful to add into this list. So first of all, we have again the Enilea in France. The duration could be 2, 4, 6 years. The format is in person. It's accredited by the national system in France, educational system. Now the hands-on portion is only in French. In Italy, it's a 1 week program. It's in person, it's hands-on, not excessively expensive, right? For a cheese making. It's in English, so that was great. It's hands-on, but it's really not about cheese making at a facility, right? It's more on house making. Then we had VIAG, which was very successful. It was a 2 week program. It was in person. It was hands-on, international cheesemakers. So this is a model that we could potentially follow. And then I didn't talk about this, but there are multiple short courses that are offered throughout the year in different institutions. And these are very good to learn about cheese making and different cheese making styles. But the downside is that we only have 2 days, potentially 1 week in certain cases. They are a mix of online and in person, prices changes, and they are hands-on, having particular and certain topics. So this is also a good thing or a good model to follow. However, having 2 days is not enough. So we need something that is extended. And then we have the Cheese State University, an online program. It's free, it's great, but it's only theory. It's not the intent, again, for cheesemakers, more for cheesemongers or retailers. And then we have CURD, right? The location will be California, the duration still to be determined. And I anticipate being the format something hybrid. So we'll have the hands-on, but then the theory will have to be online. If not, we'll need to spend a whole year here together learning about theory and all the hands-on portion. So still a lot of things to be determined. Not everything is clear. However, what is clear is that the program will be in English and will have hands-on comprehensive curriculum for cheesemakers. That's for sure. So, how do we get there? How do we get to the final goal or having our vocational school for cheesemaker, knowing that we might have different ways to get there? Well, I made a list, I started to plan and say, well, what do we need? What do we need to get there? First of all, we need upgraded cheese aging rooms. Right now, we have two aging rooms, three actually, at the creamery. However, with certain cheese styles, we might not be able to do it properly, like blues, for example. That's one that comes into my mind. So we'll need to do some updates and upgrades to the cheese aging rooms. The microbiology lab, we also need to do some upgrades, cheese making supplies, like fine tuning certain details like a smaller press, right? Because the one we have is for the bigger forms, and sometimes for certain forms it doesn't work. So just tiny details here and there, but it's not a lot in terms of facility except for the cheese aging rooms. For the personnel, I need a program coordinator. We need guest speakers to come and share their knowledge about cheesemaking. And we also need a lot of volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. People who are committed to the cause and who would like to share their knowledge on about cheesemaking or any other topics that I mentioned before. So if you want to volunteer, please reach out. I'm going to have my contact information at the end of our slides. And then in terms of instructional tools, I still need to work on a detailed syllabi and teaching manual to have all the materials in one place, collect case studies that will be helpful for students to learn from, assessment and rubrics. How are we going to make sure that the students are actually learning what we are teaching, or where do we need to put more emphasis in? And a learning management system to be able to collect all the materials and do all the assessment, etc., etc. So, how are we going to fund this? Let me tell you that we don't have an answer yet. But we do know is that I'm starting to actively seeking grants to start that work. So potentially in the future, we could apply to federal grants, and here I identified a few of them. Since I prepared this presentation and now we know that certain grants are no longer available, but in the future, there might be opportunities to apply, especially for workforce development grants. We also have the opportunity to apply to regional grants, like Strong Workforce Program here in California, and private grants. Certain foundations, right, might be able to support this program as well. So I'm already starting to apply for grants. So the first question, or one of the first questions I got, okay, this is great, awesome, you have a program, how much is going to cost? Right? And the answer is, I don't know yet because I haven't determined 100% the length of the program. So that will be really, really important to allocate resources into the program. But I started crunching some numbers just to get an idea of how much it will cost. So I assume that we'll have a 1 year program in person, right? Which might not be the case. But assuming that this program will be a whole year and what it will cost to have personnel. So I included a part-time assistant to do all the cheese making and a part-time coordinator. I'm not including anything else as salaries, right? Just basically it's just one person, 50% doing one thing, 50% doing other activities. And then we also need supplies. We need to set aside some funds to maintain the equipment. And the initial investment of aging rooms and classroom tech, around 52,000. Again, this is, I don't know the actual numbers that we're gonna get to, but I anticipate not being less than 52,000. So all of it comes into 370,000, sorry. Now, for revenue streams, most of the revenue will come from tuition. And then, as I said, we can apply for grants and sponsorships. However, we cannot rely on grants all the time. So assuming that the cost of running this program will be 385,000 per year, will need will have a cost of 30,000 per year and a minimum of 10 students to be able to run the program. Again, this is assuming that we're getting volunteers to teach and that we only get part-timers to help us coordinate the program and do the cheese making. So this number might look very big. However, again, this is 1 year and quite likely the program will not be a year long. So this is approximate and we're going to start working to get more numbers and more realistic numbers into what is the actual price and how far can we go in terms of training time to make this program affordable and also to try to get sponsorship. So if you are interested in sponsoring this program, let me know. What are the next steps? So how are we going to make this CURD program happen? Well, this is my proposed timeline. We are in year 2025, right? So this year I devoted myself to do market research. I've been collecting feedback, doing the needs assessment, defining the program. Now, for the next months, I'm actually seeking for external partnerships and starting to understand better how the funding is going to work and what the funding structure will be. Next year, I'm going to have more specific learning outcomes and start working more on the curriculum design, starting making a list on potential structures, volunteers, a secure institutional support, and keep seeking for external partnerships and applying for grants to be able to fund at least the first years. And I'm very happy to announce that I secure funding to launch a pilot program next year. Yay, super exciting. So I don't know when and how, but we're going to have a pilot program next year. Quite likely it's going to be a 2-week program and is going to be supported by this grant. So please keep my email and send me an email if you are interested. We're going to have a call for applications. We're going to receive applications for whoever is interested, and it's going to be announced on LinkedIn and Instagram and the DPC website. And we're going to be launching a pilot program so we can learn more about what do we have to do and what do we have to change. 2027, keep working on continuing a pilot program, outreach campaign, seeking support, and having assessment and evaluation ready to launch the full program in 2028. So I just want to ask for suggestions. As I said, there's not one path to get where we want to get. So please provide feedback. Here is a QR code for a survey. It's 10 questions. It's very short. It's gonna take 5 minutes. And I'm very happy to receive comments, suggestions, ideas, and also if you're interested in volunteering or if you're interested in the program as a student. So here are the multiple paths to get where we want to get. And I really want to thank the hosts who made this program happen. I've been thinking about this program for a long time, believe me, probably 6 years, but I never did anything about it. I was just thinking, oh, it will be nice. It will be nice to have. So when I saw the application for the DCTE, I just saw the perfect opportunity to make this project happen. So I really want to thank the board members and the endowment for helping me just continue and take the next step to start actually writing it down and making it happening. I'm just very, very, very grateful for this opportunity and for all the feedback and support you've been providing. I also want to thank Dr. Susan Pheasant. She is my partner in crime for all my crazy ideas. She came with me to Europe to do all this research, and she has something to add all the time, and I'm really, really grateful because she listens to me all the time and has something good to say. And I also want to thank my grandpa. He passed away this year. He was 98 years old. He lived a very, very good life. He was a farmer. And thanks to him, I really enjoyed and learned to love agriculture. So thank you very much, Grandpa, for all your legacy. And I just want to continue working for the land and for the people who work at the different farms. And thank you for coming today and for your support. And please reach out. Here's my email. It's also QR code from my LinkedIn page. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, any ideas, or again, if you want to volunteer or be part of the first cohort. Thank you very much.
What are some reasons do you think that something like this hasn't happened in the US before?
I think they've been intense. As I said, like, VIA was the first one and it was very successful. So it comes out to just someone actually wanted to do the work and having the right time, the right people at the right place. That's what I will say. It's not that they haven't been intense. And I guess it's hard, right? It's not easy to have a program like this that is just devoted for cheesemakers, especially at universities where we are so many programs, so many stuff going on, and we also do other things like butter and ice cream, and so we have to provide support for multiple fields, not necessarily only for cheesemakers.
Since you did this presentation in July at the American Cheese Society conference, what has been the response so far?
It's been great. So I have been in conversations with some of the big retailers. It's not the intent for them to be, like cheesemakers or for their employees to be cheesemakers, but they are very, very interested on the educational opportunities. That is, it's growing for sure. And I see the need all the time that the need for education is growing and it's very niche. It's not just about I need to learn about cheese. It's very tailored for each individual needs as a group, so I see that it was very positive response and also like willingness to support the program.
We love to hear it. Anybody else out there have any questions?
What was it? Favorite cheese to eat and to make. To eat, my favorite cheese lately it's been the Brie Savarin, the French cheese that is um it's like a brie that is super creamy and that is almost butter. It's white on the outside, but super gooey. Oh my God, it's like I see it and I buy it all the time. Super good. To make, I will say mozzarella. Any pasta filata is very fun. However, I'm very bad at making it. The curds, for some reason, I'm not a good pasta filata maker. So, but it's fun when it works. Yet, exactly. I'm not a good pasta filata maker yet. I'm trying.
I mean, you can't be good at everything.
Exactly.
You have something that challenges you.
hmm
How can people get involved to get this program to its end goal?
As I said, helping with volunteering, could be teaching, also supporting the program. And they have, like, oh, I want to support and sponsor part of it. That will be awesome. But just, I guess, willingness to provide feedback and volunteering for teaching, that will be great.
Hi, I do have a question.
Great.
All right, so for this program, I noticed that in the overview of all the other programs that you mentioned, this one won't have certification after their class, right? Do you think
It
it's a
will.
possibility that maybe in the future they can have the certification after, like maybe let's say it's a 6 month long program. So, it's kind of like good to have like that on the cheesemaker's resume. And then, once this program become very well known, they're like, oh, awesome. They were in this program. They're, qualified individuals.
Yeah, so that is a very good question, Amy. Thank you for that. And the idea is to have a certification through continuing education at Cal Poly. I mean, there's no formal entity that will certify a cheesemaker nationally. Like Wisconsin has its own master cheesemaker and they have their own program going, and you have to be in Wisconsin. I mean, other than that, there's no really official recognized certificate for cheesemakers. So maybe we are the first ones and we become a certification entity as
That'd be
well.
really awesome. I will love that. Yeah, thank you for answering that question.
Well, and I was thinking about that too of it would lend some credence to somebody's resume, like, me being a certified cheese professional. Now, when I'm looking at a job and I have those letters behind my name, it kind of lends a little bit like, oh, she knows something. Like, this is a serious thing, not that like the short courses and all of that stuff are all really great and like great ways to pad your resume, but having that certification can be really, really
And
bad.
this is a good point, and this is an area of opportunity as well. Like maybe we partner with ACS or we partner with someone else to make this recognized certification that will have some weight into like whoever's career or resume. These are very good points. Yeah.
So it sounds like we all just need to talk to all of our people in our circles to get everybody invested, right?
Yeah, and actually after the conference, I forgot to mention that someone came and asked me, "Do you have a crowdfunding campaign open?" I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea. I don't, but maybe it's an opportunity." So yeah, they were ready to donate, like whatever amount of money. So that was very sweet. So yeah.
Well, is there anything you want to finish off with tonight, Carmen?
No, just say thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity and for pushing my pushing me out of my comfort zone and making this happen and just again like really landed a program. And I'm very, very grateful for all the support of the board members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmen. We are thrilled about this initiative and we can't wait to see it happen.
And thank you so much for coming today.
If you would like to host an event benefiting DZTE, please get in touch with us and we can send along our new SOP created by board member and Formaggio Kitchen owner Julia Hallman. Donations are always accepted directly on our website, and we hope that you will consider donating so we can continue to offer opportunities like this. Thank you for being here and for your support and commitment to furthering cheese education.